I just want to say welcome to the first actual Project NOZL tutorial. I've done map tutorials to an extent, and I've done videos for different routes, but I want to introduce you properly to the mode. This is Project NOZL, and what is that? Well, first, let's roll the clip. So this has already been done in hero mode, you know, using sub only, not your main weapon, but I decided to do it in battle mode. And then after a while of doing this, I wondered, what else could I take away to make the game more challenging? I ended up deciding to mess around in turf war without a ZL button entirely because I thought that'd be far more interesting, literally losing access to some of my movement options, and it would make it harder. Basically, I was stuffing around in turf wars, public turf wars, and I thought how to make the game more interesting because I love the game, don't get me wrong, but it does get stale after a while. And we know Splatoon, it's amazing. We've got amazing movement, we can swim, and also you can control the map by painting the ground. And obviously that means that if the enemies have more control over the ground than you do, that's a good mechanic because you can't swim in that ink. So I like the way that that controls the pace of the game. However, consider all that, and let's say, what if we wanted to make the game just objectively bad? Well, we take the one thing that makes this game Splatoon and we remove it. That's what Project NOZL is, no ZL, meaning we play the game without the ZL button. That means don't use something that will register as a ZL press, so if you have an alternate binding, the same applies, you can't press that. Now first when I tried this in Turf Wars, it was obviously interesting to see parts of the map you can't normally access, like here. How the hell do I get up there? Well, that's where we really factor in strategies, because normally it's the way the swim form works. It's really accessible to get up to areas like there, but now we have a roadblock. But we can look around the map, and this makes map awareness very significant in this gameplay mode, or whatever you want to call it, this custom mode. So for example, if we see a sponge like so, well, we can do something with it. We can shoot it, and then we can jump on it, we can get up here, and that's how we would get our access to up here. But there's still a restriction to that. If we go overkill, we block ourselves from ever going up here ever again. So basically what I'm getting at is that by just removing one button, you have all this change to the game, but it doesn't stop you from playing the game. It's just, it opens up a whole realm of things that you need to be more mindful of. I'll show you a little bit of gameplay just so you actually see what it's about, and therefore it's worth looking at. And then we'll get really stuck into how to actually play the modes. Now keep in mind, while generally the whole thing is not using squid form, we do have the one exception of super jump. You know why? Because it doesn't use the ZL button. In fact, on the note of these rules, I'll be specific. If you're using something like a crab tank, you actually cannot go into the ball form. And I think that's cool. So it's just a rule that applies across the whole thing. Same with zipcast, so you can't use squid form during that. But you can super jump because that doesn't use the ZL button. So keep that in mind, and it's a strategy you'll probably be using a lot of, because if we go to just where I was, just before, it physically would have been impossible to escape the middle of the map. Because that's how some of these maps work, especially in Turf War and Splat Zone. Some of the maps are like this, where I'm stuck down here, I can't actually get out, so I just super jump. I was going to show you a bit of platforming. I will actually just roll the clip in the time it's taking. I'll just roll the clip. And then what I'll do is, while the clip is rolling, you can have a fun watch of that. And I'm going to switch my weapon to one and show you an alternative strategy. And that's the beauty of this game mode. But yes, some of the updates do really kill the game mode. If you are familiar with this mode, Mincemeat Tower Control is an example. So we go back into Museum. And this is probably not a strategy you're going to be using a lot, but I'm just showing an example, because if you, I'm going to link a few things such as the rule set, I'm going to link the Discord server, I'm going to link the other playlists that shows all the videos. This has been a thing, well, that I've been looking at for a year. My first video was actually earlier, January 2023. So here's what we're going to do. This is moving, and we want to get up. And now we basically can. So basically, I'm just showing you a way we could theoretically get across. Now, don't get me wrong, if you're familiar with the game's specials, there's a much easier way. But I think this is cool, and once upon a time the Kraken didn't exist, and we had to actually really do things like this if we wanted to get across the map. Mind you, this is Turf War. Nobody's out here playing Turf War, but I still like this. If we take Kraken here, and we go up here, for argument's sake, and I'm gonna sort of hug this wall and keep going until we're... Yep, perfect. So now we're up here, and then what I can do is I can actually help the team get up here, and this is a normally inaccessible area. I'm lying, this is not inaccessible, I'll show you in a moment, but in some of the modes it is, specifically splat zones. So this is a way we can actually make it accessible. And yeah, so if we do this, oh no, I fell off. Well, lucky for my team, I've done this, and now we have an advantage over the enemy team, specifically in the versions of this map where you can't actually get up here authentically. You can actually get across anyway, so that doesn't really matter. And that's the other thing about this. It's like when we look at the map here, normally we can just use all of this and go all the way across. I'm going to show this with Flounder Heights in a moment, but normally we can go all through the map and it's all good. But in here we've got more specific pathways. See, you can go down here, but if you go down here you're trapped, so then you'll need to go up the ramp and then go around, or you can go sort of around the back. You can go up here, you can cross there to get up there, but if you're on the lower ground here, you can't be up here. Basically, the map designs are, I would say, almost more three-dimensional in this, if that makes sense. I'll show you what this means for Rainmaker, and for Rainmaker, this means we're going to actually have to be doing a lot of backtracking, because this is impossible to get. The closest we can get is 66 here, which, by the way, we're going to keep this in mind. We want to get to 66, because that way, if the enemy picks up the Rainmaker, and they do the same thing, they can only get to 67. So that's what I've been calling for however long a mini checkpoint. Horrible name, but I've just been calling it that. So yeah, we get the mini checkpoint, then we have to go around, and then we can finally backtrack to finally then get this. And then you'll notice that this adds more interest, because once we get this, the map actually changes even more. Because now we've got this level. I'm going to move the Rainmaker. Now you might think, oh, well, to get to that goal, we'll just have to go around this way. You could do that, it would take long. Or, because we've changed the map by putting the Rainmaker here, this is now lower, we can still get up here, which is great. But it's the fact that we don't have to already be elevated to cross. We can actually just cross now from ground level. And then that way we can do this. And this is an instance where I wouldn't get the mini checkpoint, because it's a waste of time. Basically, that's how to play Rainmaker, but there's a bit more to Rainmaker than that. But basically, you're going to be looking for alternate pathways, you're going to be getting the mini checkpoint, and then be looking for alternate pathways to actually get to the goal. Because too many times people ask me when we play the game, oh, how do I get the Rainmaker? Am I allowed to swim up to get it? No. Figure it out. Or watch my Rainmaker routes videos, because I've got a ton of those. Again, I'm going to link the playlist. I'll show you another thing, and I'll show you on Wahoo World because it's the easiest to perform it on. Look at this here. We can obviously get this checkpoint just by going to this part here and then jumping on. I'm not going to do that. I'll get the mini checkpoint for the hell of it. But yeah, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for myself to die. So I can speed this up. Now the next component of this is actually going to need 2 Krakens. Oh, before I do anything, I'm going to change my bindings. I'm going to make this the special button, just for now. Because it's easier to activate the special if I do it in a specific way. Because I want my hand to stay held on the B button for a high jump, I can't really use the right stick to activate specials. So basically, we do this, we do the alternate binding so that when I need to do the actual maneuver, that wasn't the maneuver, when I do the actual maneuver, I can activate special while holding B to jump high. Okay, so I'm gonna put a beacon up here. Yeah, so this is what happens. You can't get up here, but I did get up here using a Kraken because that's legal, because I didn't press the ZL button. Well, I didn't press something that registers as ZL. And I've put a beacon up there now so I can access it again. I didn't press ZL at all. So I'm up here. I did a jump with the Rainmaker without pressing ZL. And it took like a week or so to figure out how to do this. It was really cool. If you're wondering about the actual inputs, I'll do it on the guides where it's relevant. The only problem is this jump is still hard to get and I'm definitely going to fail. I take it back. And the other problem is that it's lag dependent. As in, when there's lag, it doesn't work anymore. You know what does work with lag? Cheese that is illegal, like stuff that shouldn't be theoretically possible. Like, I'll show you a clip where I do a jump up Rainmaker goal by using Kraken, and because of the delay, I can carry the Rainmaker up there. Whereas if you have no lag, you actually cannot get to the top. So basically, this game sucks because to do the actual strategies that we labbed out properly that are legit, they don't work in lag, and then the stuff that shouldn't work does. That's my rant. If we look at tower control, there are about 3 different possible circumstances. Circumstance number 1, well, Mahi Mahi is a mix of both 1 and 2, so keep that in mind. That's why I'm showing this map out of the ones I chose. Basically, here we can just jump on. That's great. There we go, water level drops. Now let's see what happens if this resets to the middle. Now, obviously I can charge up Kraken, I can swim up to the top, and people might think that's the only thing you could possibly do. I wouldn't blame you for thinking that, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. There's still other things we can do. For example, if we know how tower control works, when you jump to a teammate who's near the tower, often you'll end up finding yourselves on the tower. And why is that? Well, obviously the game doesn't want you to literally collide with the tower path as you cross it, so it corrects your position to avoid that possibility. And thankfully this game is so generous that even when the tower is stationary, it does that as well. And that's how we play tower control. Those are the 2 scenarios. You can either straight up jump onto the tower, or you can use a beacon to get on the tower. And one of those 2 is true for almost every single map. There used to be 2 exceptions, then Mincemeat got changed, now there's 1 exception, and it's Eeltail Alley. And I'll show you Eeltail Alley. If we put our beacon here, which I haven't got a beacon with this weapon, if we put a beacon here, it actually doesn't take us to the tower, and we can't really get up there. Well, we could, if we could get up to the top here, which we can't. So there's a few ways to do this. The obvious one is just Kraken up here, and especially if you're using crack on roll, then you can place beacons, and that definitely helps your team a lot. So that's cool. I want to be slightly more interesting than that. So note where I started my zip cast. So this is something that every single person has been getting wrong. You need to start the zip caster so that you jump back on the tower. And if you do that successfully, you get to keep riding the tower. Oh, also, I'm just letting you know this is true for every single special that involves a jump. Oh, and sub. Squid Beacon, it can be jumping to a player. We've done that as our strategy for most maps. And specials like Inkjet Zipcaster. And also, this is the last one we figured out, even though it's obviously blatantly obvious because it works exactly like a Squid Beacon, but it's still kind of funny nonetheless. This is true on Museum as well. It's got a big block obstructing the tower in the middle, so you'd think, oh, well, there should be no way we can get on. Doesn't matter. And that's how we win. We're just going to talk in terms of rule set now. Basically, the rule set's constantly changing because it's arbitrary. There's like, what, 3 of us working on this? The rule sets include things like a range limit, which, again, I'll link the document for that. In fact, I'll do it right now, this second. But that's still subject to change. It updates live. The other thing is we've got a limit of 1 Kraken per team for the moment. It could be changed in the future to even remove that because it does kind of defeat the purpose of the no swimming mechanic, but we'll look into that. Now the ranges, the reason we implemented that is because if you cannot submerge yourself in ink and if you can't move fast, then the meta is literally just use E-Leader. Use E-Leader, use Explusher. It's really painful. So to avoid that problem, we have made it so that you can only have a certain amount of combined range per team. So somebody can still use E-Leader, but if somebody's using E-Leader, the rest of you have to use really short range weapons, if that makes sense. Join the Discord server if you want to join a potential event in the future. Don't know if it'll happen, don't know when it will happen, but keep that in mind. Now, I remember the main reason I actually wanted to talk about rules because I was rambling for a sec. There's actually a main thing, and it's the fact that in Splat Zones, Clan Blitz, Turf War, it's impossible for a game to not be playable. Tower control, provided you bring the right weapon, well, not even weapon, if you can jump to a teammate, or if it's Eeltail, if you have like a Kraken or Zipcaster or whatever, or if it's just a map you can jump on tower, there's a way to get on for every single map. Rainmaker is the one mode where sometimes your ability to actually complete the map at all can be compromised. Hagglefish is an example. There's many examples. In fact, it's most of the maps. So, we get the mini checkpoint, 65, beautiful. Now, depending on the amount of run speed you have, you can either jump straight from here, or if you want to play it safe, you can go a little bit further, and every weapon can do that distance. Now, this isn't the main point, but keep going. Now, as we approach here, you'll start to look around and realize there's not really a way to get on, and that's what makes people ask if they should just swim up. I understand the perspective, however, for consistency's sake, I want to be making sure we're never pressing ZL. So, how do we deal with this? Well, first of all, even though this looks like the best we can get, it's actually not. If we go here and do this jump, we can get to 3. So that's the best we can do here. And then once we've done that, you'll use the, this is the only time you'll be doing a ZL input, and it will be once the game has reached this stage. Basically, by this point, you will then press this button, this button, this button, this button, and the 2 control sticks to force end the game. So make sure you have ZL binded somewhere, but somewhere where you're not going to accidentally press it. If you're worried about people cheating or lying about this because the replay of the actual match isn't saved when you do this, you can screen record to verify, always. But anyway, I'm going to edit this first of all, and then I'm going to do more specific videos for each map. I'll try to ramble less, I'll try to be more specific, but I really want to show you the areas where you can use strategies. Even though nobody's watching these, I want to show you the ways to get on tower, the ways to use Rainmaker, the things you need, like the amount of ability points of run speed you need to bring, and other things like if you need to bring a specific weapon, sub, or special, etc. And otherwise, hope you have a good day. Thank you.